ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, roll call. David Bowie here, Eric Bosler, Gerald Diesel, here. James Kirshner, here. Jamie Ballou,
Here.
Joshua Gettiger,
Here.
Martha Reesinger.
Here.
Next on the agenda is the R2 Board of Education norms, which are available if you'd like to read through them. And next I have approval of the agenda.
Move to make a motion to approve the agenda of the July 19th, 2022 regular open session meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have appointment of the treasurer of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to appoint Dan Apps at First State Community Bank as treasurer of the Board of Education for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the MSBA monthly report for July.
Okay, and can I add real quick back on the treasurer? I was distracted. We have a contract with First State Community Bank, so that's why Dan Apps is our treasurer. So I just wanted to make that clear. And that's why he is the treasurer. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks. Let me get this thing pulled up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MSBA Board Report for the month of July. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the issue of school safety. Creating and maintaining a safe and secure learning environment for our students, teachers, and staff is always a top priority for school board members and administrators, but now has become an even greater focus in the aftermath of the horrific shooting in Uvalde, Texas. MSBA's Center for Education Safety remains an important resource for school districts throughout our state, and now a new national school safety organization will be part of the Missouri School Boards Association. It will be led by John McDonald, a nationally recognized school safety expert who recently retired as the leader of safety and security in the Jefferson County schools in Colorado, the home of Columbine High School. McDonald, who is moving to Missouri, spoke at MSBA's recent delegate assembly meeting in St. Charles. He said school boards remain on the front lines of protecting children and providing them with a safe learning environment.
If you ask any parent what's most important to them about their child's education, they're going to tell you three things. I want my child safe, I want them happy, and I want them educated. If we do those three things, we have great hope. Not only do we have hope, but we see great results. And we know that a student that feels safe in their environment, a student that feels safe at school, is a better learner. They have higher test scores, better graduation rates. They want to be there and they want to learn. And every child deserves to learn in an environment free from intimidation and abuse and bullying and threats.
McDonald says the new National School Safety Organization under MSBA's umbrella will provide school districts with a variety of resources and guidance to meet the needs of individual districts. He adds the new organization will also provide a critical incident response team that will be available to districts throughout Missouri and throughout the nation. The new president of the Missouri School Boards Association is Ray Murphy, a school board member from the Richards R5 School District, a K-8 school near West Plains. Murphy became MSBA's new president at the recent Igniting Great Ideas Summit in St. Charles after serving as president-elect for the past year. He told board members attending the summit it's important to understand the challenges our schools face right now, but it's also important to celebrate accomplishments.
Oscar Wilde has a great quote, one of my favorites. He said, experience is the best teacher because it gives you the test and then the lesson. And we've learned a lot these last 2 years, and I think we need to celebrate that. Celebrate the things we did well, learn from the things we didn't do good and failed at, and move forward and celebrate those.
MSBA state officers elected during the Delegate Assembly meeting held at the summit include President-elect Ruth Johnson of the Raymore Peculiar School District and Vice President Patty Quisenberry of the Ozark School District. It's time to review and submit proposed changes to MSBA's advocacy positions. Those position statements express to legislators, policymakers, the public, and the media where MSBA stands on issues like school board elections, charter school expansion, and many, many others. Be a part of this process by reviewing the current positions, discussing them with your fellow school board members, and proposing changes. Delegates will vote on the proposed changes at the Fall Delegate Assembly this November in Kansas City. The deadline to submit new or revised position statements is August 31st. Registration is now open for the 2022 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators to be held November 4th and 5th in Kansas City. The event will once again feature numerous breakout sessions and workshops, many presented by school leaders from districts throughout the state, along with a great lineup of general session speakers. You can also register to attend the 2022 Midwest School Safety Summit to be held November 2nd and 3rd in Kansas City. This event is designed to provide information for those who govern and work in K-12 schools, colleges, and universities, as well as law enforcement officials and others working with MSBA member districts. The summit is being held just before the MSBA annual conference to allow entire safety teams, including school board members, superintendents, and central office staff, to attend with school safety staff. The Midwest School Safety Summit is presented as a partnership between MSBA Center for Education Safety and the Safe and Sound Schools organization. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Next, we have the consent agenda.
I will be abstaining from voting on this
And
due to relationship on the substitute teacher list.
all right.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Besides Ms. Lou, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have 5. One abstention. One absence. All right, thank you all. Next, we have guidelines for public participation. Board members, sorry, give me just a second. Board members and administrators will listen to concerns and will respond when appropriate by mail or telephone at a later date. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once during this period, and each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. Per policy BDDH-1, public participation at board meetings, the following guidelines and procedures will be followed. In order to speak during public participation, the public comment form must be filled out and submitted to the board president prior to the beginning of the meeting. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes, and no individual will be permitted to speak more than once. Also, each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. I do not have any comment cards.
I do not have any either.
Next, we have report of the superintendent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In your packet, there are some notes of appreciation. Oops, I don't know how we got to the end, but it might go fast, but not that fast. So they are in your onboard docs. I think the keyboard's possessed tonight. We had this a little while ago, didn't we?
Lori had it happen to her.
Yes. I'm not
I was
touching
gonna
it.
say, she's trying to make us hungry.
Yes, I'm not touching it. There you go. So, after the notes of appreciation, I wanted to talk about the 2022 Annual Determination of Individuals with Disability Education Act. Every year, DESE kind of does a review of our school district to see if we're meeting the requirements and purposes of IDEA. What you see on the screen there, and you actually have the letter and board docs from DESE with all of the documentation, are the scores for St. John R2. 1 is the lowest score, 4 is the highest. You have to get an average score of 3.33 or higher in order to meet the requirements and purposes of IDEA, and St. John R2 received a score of 4. We did have a lower score this year than in the past on dropout rate, but overall it did not impact our determination score. So that is good news. I always like to thank the people who are, at the front of this. So last year, since it was 22, it's Dr. Teresa Green, who is retired, and I'm sure is loving life right now. She likes to travel, so it's hard telling where she's at. Then our process coordinators, Cheryl Woolstotter, Jana LeClaire, Nikki Loppe, and Bethany Ketting, who is our early childhood coordinator but serves as a process coordinator for that program too. And then, of course, all of our SPED teachers, our paras, they all do a fantastic job. So we're very proud to get this score and appreciate all that hard work and dedication from every individual involved.
Do you feel like the dropout rate was impacted because of the COVID-19 pandemic? I guess maybe more direct would be, historically, what has it been for us?
Do you remember?
Specific to special education students, no.
Okay. It typically, if I remember correct, is a lower number than your average student. So, for me, it wasn't a surprise to see that number go down. Did the pandemic impact it? I'm probably going to say yes, but that's my guess. The pandemic has seemed to impact every aspect of our education. And, I also wonder, and I guess my question would be, is some of that dropout rate also due to the social emotional, being home and then trying to be thrown back into school and socialize, just all of it. So my best guess is yes.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to remind everyone that the August board meeting has been moved to Tuesday, August 30th. We will hold the tax rate hearing before the regular meeting, so the tax rate hearing will start at 7 p.m. Dr. Taylor and I've worked on that a little bit. We have the assessed valuation from the county before the Board of Equalization. The board meets Friday to do those hearings, so we should get a final assessed valuation after the Board of Equalization makes their rulings. So I anticipate getting that at the beginning of August, which is typically when we receive it. And I think that's it on my report for this evening.
All right, thank you. Next, we have unfinished business. One item on there is the selection of a construction manager at risk. Last night, we held interviews. I'm sorry if I'm talking out of
Go ahead.
here.
Go
We held
ahead.
interviews with Faulkner Construction and SM Wilson and Company. Some pretty thorough interviews, I think. So we have a little bit of time now to chat about that or ask questions. I know one of the things that's included in the packet here is some information on a construction manager at risk versus design build like we've used in the past, or a general contractor. And I just wanted to make sure we point out that the construction manager at risk kind of takes the general contractor and puts him or her on our side of the table. So they're trying, I don't want to throw the general contractors that I know under the bus, but if they are incentivized to save money for themselves, and that's a good thing to do, they would benefit from that. This person would save money for us, or a combination of us and them. So that's my 2 cents on that piece.
Well, this is the first time we've done this, so we're all kind of new at it. But with the things we learned last night, I feel a lot better about it. I kind of understand why we're going this way, because we have a sheet here that kind of gives the pros and cons of what we do, or why we would do this. And the pros are way above the cons. So I think we did a fairly decent job of interviewing. And I think the interviewers were very forward about what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. So I was impressed with that.
I was very impressed with the interviews, caring people, just knowing that we're going to be good. And actually how you talked about the semi, because we never did this before, and just to know what you explained to us really helped. Because then we were able to go home, think about it, and then really know and understand what you were talking about.
So if you don't know, one of our interviewees, Colin Rogers, is in the audience. So thank you for interviewing last night.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to point out, everyone had questions, and obviously feel free to speak up, but my questions revolved around local partnership. And both companies, Brock Miller and SM Wilson, spoke to how they try to incorporate local subcontractors so that we can, return the investment that our citizens put in us by voting in the bond issue, by taking some of that and investing in local jobs. And in my opinion, Brock Miller spoke more strong about that, and also provided a listing that Ms. Diesel pointed out to me of all the local contractors that they use, local being us and surrounding counties. But I don't want to steal your thunder. She pointed out, Ms. Diesel, that 3 of the top 5 are here in St. Genevieve County. And that's important.
Are the RFPs made public?
They're in board docs.
They're in board docs.
They were under exec content.
They're under executive contact.
Oh, okay.
The district owns those documents. When we put out the RFQ and RFP, it states in there that the district will retain those documents.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. So my thought process is we were looking at the 2 of them, and they were not apples to apples. I did a comparison when I got home. There were approximately 39 more inclusions of services that Brock Miller provides versus SM Wilson. They had 7 that were included. Things as simple as transportation for superintendents, project engineers, project coordinators, project detailers, checkers. Those sort of things were all included with the Brock Miller construction. Temporary fencing, temporary toilets, water, ice, those sort of things. So I felt like we weren't comparing apples to apples, and the price differential there is kind of why I asked why, if they're in public. I think that this shows my comparison that Brock Miller's was significantly more inclusive of the things that we're going to need. Not that necessarily that SM was hiding, cost, but I think that that's something to consider. And like Dave mentioned, the localness, putting it back into our community. Colin mentioned 4 or 5 people who live in our community who work for Brock Miller. I think that's important as well. So it's more than just the small figure that was hired, the localness, and then the willingness to look into working with our students, finding ways to integrate those things, STEM sort of things. I think it's all great information. So, in my opinion, I thought Brock Miller presented a better interview and is more inclusive of what we're going to need here in our community. And really understanding how St. Genevieve works and how our residents are going to react to if you were to go out and find somebody else different from the traditional Brock Miller. You know, they built the water park for us, they've done work on the jail for us. Those sort of things are happening and they've been successful. References showed that, so that's kind of my 2 cents on everything.
I want to point out that SM Wilson had the opportunity to check those same boxes that Brock Miller did. It wasn't apples to apples in the result, but it was in the chance to.
Correct, absolutely correct. Yep, there was a 5-page whole Excel spreadsheet of check marks of where they put it, where the cost would fall. And Brock Mills was much more inclusive of those overall expenses. So I feel like that was really important.
I think the big thing that got me was when Brock Miller wanted to work with the students. That was really top notch.
I think we should also point out that Brock Miller had excellent references. Not
Yes.
a single thing said negative towards them, or not necessarily negative, just couldn't find anything. And SM Wilson had some good references as well, but there was also some things that were not as put as in such great light as well. Other things we needed to look out for if we choose to go with them.
Right. We were also very concerned about school student safety, and they came with a really good plan on how to keep kids safe. And that's very important right now.
And the fact that you stay with us until the project is done, and even after that.
Yes, yes, the
So
warranty.
that's for that.
The warranty is a
After that.
big deal as well.
Right. It's not passed on to
Right.
another division of Brock
Right.
Miller.
Right.
Or a timeline of
Yes.
warranty, yes.
I want to point out that the process began with an RFQ. We had 4 responses to that. Those were scored by a facilities committee, I'm sure that's not the term, but basically a committee. And then those folks were all scored and then allowed, or some of them were allowed to then submit requests for proposal, and we received
2 of those.
2. Okay. And those 2 came to our interview last night. Okay. Oh, we offered 3, but we backed out. Okay.
Yeah. So another, I'm going to add on to what Dave said. When Dr. Taylor and the committee totaled the scores, they came up to like the rubrics combined. The RFQ was worth 135 points and the RFB was worth 200 points. So of those 335 points, Brock Miller had 43 points higher than the next bidder, well, SM Wilson, which we interviewed last night. They had the highest scores, those 2, but Brock Miller really kind of shined there. And it all kind of, when I kind of analyzed why, when I looked at the rubrics last night, fee area, budget adherence, and previous local relationships were areas that the committee really scored Brock Miller, higher than SM Wilson. So those are things that are important to us and to our community, I think. Also, last night, Mr. Rogers, that's correct, isn't it, Mr. Rogers? Is that right? Anyway, spoke of the scope of work, and I kind of like that because that was kind of a new term for me, that when it comes down to, say, you're going to look at electricity or you're going to look at concrete or you're going to look at HVAC, some of the jobs in a project like this are very big, and then some are smaller, so they don't just try to put one size fits all. I mean, say they go with local contractors, they may end up going with 2 or 3, depending on the scope of work that fits that subcontractor's ability or company size. And I thought that was, I kind of really liked that piece. So that was a strength I thought they had. That's my 2 cents worth.
And I want to do one more thing about what Jim said about the CMAR. I felt like that was a good route to take because of the overall amount of money that's being spent on this bond. We need to make sure we're being smart and respect the taxpayers' monies who are going to be helping pay the bond off. I think that's very important. Simple things as, you know, buying steel, when's the best time to buy steel, when is the best time to, you know, pour concrete, when's understanding those things that no knock to Dr. Taylor, but that a doctor in education wouldn't know. Those sort of things. So I felt like that was a good route to take as well. So further evidence why I think the CMAR was best for R2.
In this case, the CMAR works with the architect, but also develops the plans up front versus an architect just handing the plans to a GC. Brockmiller made sure to point out, and rightfully so, they've completed 72 projects with our architect already. So good relationship there. Any other comments or questions? None, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Brock Miller as the construction manager at risk, EMAR, to serve as a general contractor and provide consultation to the district regarding construction during and after the design of the project and Prop SG.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right. That was it for unfinished business. I'm sorry. Next, we have new business, addition of a kindergarten teacher at Bloomsdale Elementary.
I did want to point out one thing. We were supposed to bring adult prices to you for the 23 school year. I'll fix that. But we still do not have the calculation tool. We had this same situation last year, and I think we brought it to you in August. Jordan Mueller, our food service director, and Lori Roth, she assists with all of the things that have to be filed with the department and the state and the federal government. They are going to their training in August. We're really hoping they get that tool when they go to the training. So that's why we don't have the adult prices for you this month. So last year at this time, we came and we presented that we needed a kindergarten teacher at St. John Elementary because that kindergarten class was so big. With the numbers coming into St. John Elementary and the students that were retained, we needed to keep that teacher in kindergarten. So we still, for this coming school year, we'll have 6 kindergarten teachers at St. John Elementary. We do not need to add a first grade teacher because the retention numbers took those numbers down. So what we're finding, or what we've been watching and tracking, and I've made you aware through emails, is we now need to add a kindergarten teacher at Bloomsdale Elementary. As of July 10th, we have 60 kindergarten students enrolled. We have 3 sections of kindergarten in that building. So without any new students coming in, we would start the year at 20 students in each classroom. We typically in Bloomsdale get 5 to 25. 25 was a crazy year, but it's happened a few times. So I went with an average of, I just picked 10. So let's say we get 10 students before school starts. That would be 70 students. That would bump our class sizes to 23, 24. Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm an old middle school, high school teacher. I can't imagine. Stephanie, yes. DESI's desirable class size is 17 students in grades kindergarten through 2. So we are recommending that we add a kindergarten teacher at Bloomsdale. Going off of that 70 estimated number, that would start the year somewhere between 17 and 18 in each classroom. So we feel like this is very important.
And Dr. Fleeg, what is SGE starting at? Do you know? How are you? Do you know how you
I
guys
have
are
those
looking?
numbers.
I think we each have
15 to 16.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
15
Yeah.
to 16, and that's before we open registration in August.
Right.
So,
Right. Let's get
Yeah.
a few more then.
so they'll go up. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of a kindergarten teacher at the Bloomsdale Elementary for the 22-23 school year.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That
Well, and can I point one other thing out?
Absolutely.
In closed session, we do have a recommendation for this position. This is a hire after July 1, so we will actually be employing and assigning someone to the position. And then per our policy, we'll repost that position in the spring if we still need it. Okay?
Next, we have adjourned to closed session.
Oh, yes. Under revise, I make a motion to adjourn under revised Missouri Statute 610.021. I motion that the Board of Education adjourn to a closed meeting with a closed record and a closed vote after a short break for the purpose of discussing and voting upon the following items of business: hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees, and scholastic probation, expulsion, or graduation of identifiable individuals. Roll call vote. Oh,
I'll make a second.
yes, I'm sorry. A second. Okay. Roll call vote. David Bova.
Yes.
Eric Bosler is absent. Geraldine Diesel, yes. James Kirschner.
Yes.
Jamie Ballou.
Yes.
Josh Gettinger.
Yes.
Martha Reesinger.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 6-0. And it is 7:31.
Thirty-one.